Now you see our names. Now you see our photos. You know who's coming. And let's see if it advances. Hopefully now you're seeing the how to pronounce cheers in Portuguese. Awesome. And I think what's happening is as I'm admitting, that might be the problem. So this is the document page that I was talking about. So I'm going to quickly recap really fast. So again, page 4, one of the tips that I should say is that you are welcome to take pictures of any of these pages if that would help you to review them afterwards again. We are recording this, so that means that we'll be able to send out the recording. So if you want to review the recording, you can do that as well. But sometimes rather than take notes, use your camera, take a picture of the page, and that way it's really easy to review all the things that we've reviewed here today. So we were talking about creating an album on your phone. And the reason that we create this album on your phone is because if you should lose your passport or you need to find your booking confirmations, some of the emergency phone numbers, by having that one piece, everything in there in one place is really, really helpful. So I actually, that album, I title it Documents, and then I take pictures of everything and put them all in there. It's super, super handy to have. And I always find that that way, even if I'm out and about and I need any of the information, I don't have to worry about dragging a bunch of papers with. So I do also recommend that as you're traveling, that you download the apps for the companies that you're traveling with. So if you're flying with United, download the United app. If you're flying Delta, download the Delta app. Whoever the different vendors are that you are traveling with, I encourage you to download their apps. Why? Because if there is a flight change at the last second, they're going to notify you in the app faster than the airline can reach out and communicate to you. So I highly, highly recommend that you, sorry, trying to let people in, that you download those apps. And of course, you know, when we talk about air, getting there with your luggage and your sanity is always key. I want to encourage you to be familiar. So even though we have sent you all the information, your consultant has sent you your confirmations, maybe you've issued your own air and you have it all handled. Take the time to understand it. If you have any questions, talk to your consultant about it because there are a lot of schedule changes these days. And it means that we have to stay a little bit on top of watching if there's a gate change or watching if there's a slight schedule change. If there are any interruptions in your air transportation on the way to the cruise, one of the things that we're going to talk about is the emergency telephone number for AMA Waterways. And that would be a way for you to communicate to them that you're arriving late or that there's been a hiccup in your travel plans. You can, of course, always reach out to your travel consultant as well. We believe in being there for you all the time. So while you're traveling, make sure you have that contact communication, and we can make sure to support you if there should be anything along the way. Of course, I always love to say it's travel. So everything is moving all the time. So it's best to just flow with them. If you get too worked up about some of the changes that happen, a gate change or whatever, this is why we say arrive early to the airport. I'd much rather sit down and have a glass of wine than to get stressed about being late or worried about TSA lines or anything else. Take your time, make it enjoyable, have some fun with it. Many of you are flying business class. That means you have lounge access. But if you're not, oftentimes you can either buy lounge access or you can use, there's lots of different ways. Different credit cards give you access to lounges. So again, enjoy the getting there. It's just part of the ride. So try to enjoy it a bit. So for those of you who have travel insurance, I applaud you. Yay. For those of you who don't, you concern me a bit. And I just want to let you know that it's never too late. And if by chance you don't have insurance at this point, there is a last minute, it's called a post-departure insurance that you can get. And it would provide you things like emergency evacuation, medical, It would provide you lost luggage. If something happened and you needed assistance, there would be opportunities for all of that. It's really inexpensive. It's usually less than $200 per person, usually somewhere between 85 and maybe 150 per person. And so if you don't have any other travel insurance, please reach out to your consultant. I want to encourage you. I'm the one that has to take the calls for people who don't have insurance. So I have all the stories to tell you, and I don't want you to be one. So, tips while you're traveling, of course, I always get this question about passports. I do recommend that you leave it on the ship unless you expect a large purchase. We even had one as late as last week with a guest who was traveling and she lost her bag. Um, I want to say that it was probably taken, but she had put it down. And when she turned around 2 seconds later, it was gone. It had her passport in it. And guess who gets that call? I would like you to not be that person. So I do encourage you to leave it back on the ship, put it in the safe, leave it there, unless you really think you're going to buy a big purchase. In that case, for the VAT tax, you would need it just to prove that you are not a resident of Portugal. I highly, highly recommend this next one, which is start your day with a picture and not a selfie, although that could be a great way to start your day with a selfie, only if it has maybe a glass of bubbles or something fun in it. But most importantly, the daily program that's in your room every day, and it's also on your screen, has the location of where your ship is that day and the telephone number for the ship. If you start every day with that picture, it does a couple of things. Number one, if for some reason you get separated, something happens, and you need to get a taxi to get back to the ship, you have the address. You can communicate with the ship if something happens. But here's another tip. It also helps you to remember where you are when you took that photo. Because I don't know about you, but I take lots of pictures of grapes and I take lots of pictures of wine glasses and all kinds of things. And I sometimes can't remember exactly where I was. When I start every day with a photo of where I am for that day, it gives me a date, it gives me a place, and then all the pictures on that date, I know exactly where I was. It makes a huge, huge difference. So, highly recommend it. In your documents, you are going to be invited to download the AMA app. No, that's not an abbreviation for some really super code thing. It's the AMA Waterways app, and it's brilliant to have on your phone. Why? It's going to have your documents in it, so you won't have to print out anything. That page 4 will just automatically be on there for you. But it's also going to give you some great tips on, for example, it'll have the docking locations. It will have tips along the way. It'll have great information for you. So highly, highly recommend that you download the AMA app.
To build a brighter economic future for the next.
Sorry, I can see. Oh, here we go. Let me help mute that. There we go. Um, so other things, this one's going to seem a little silly. You're all going to chuckle, but I have to say it. Turn on your phone. Why do I say that? Because I can't tell you how many times we hear saying, I couldn't find my driver. I was standing there for an hour. The pickup person wasn't there. And we reach out to the company only for them to say, well, I've been calling and calling and calling them to say that I was standing right over here, but nobody answered their phone because their phone wasn't on. My recommendation, if you're traveling, the phone cost is just part of the program. So I encourage you to, when your plan is landing, as soon as it touches down, it's taxiing in, turn on that phone if you have transfers that are going to be waiting for you, because that way you're going to start, it's going to take it a few minutes to identify where you are in the world. And by the time that you actually go to get off the plane, you're already going to be receiving messages. So I encourage you, please turn on your phone. The currency, of course, in Portugal is the euro, making it very easy. Right now, there's a good exchange for the euro. do recommend that you carry some change. So that's not something you can get from home. There, of course, if you go to exchange a little bit in advance, which is always a great idea, especially if you're going in ahead or taking some extra time. But I do recommend that you get some local change when you first get there. Buy something little, get some coins. The reason for that is if you're going to use some public restrooms, if you need to give a little tip for something, having some smaller bills, having some of those coins is really, really helpful. You can withdraw money fairly easily from ATMs in Europe. I do want to recommend that you use only ATMs that are physically attached to a bank. So don't use the ones that are in shopping centers or marketplaces. There's lots of individual kiosks with ATMs. Those are the ones that are going to potentially get you into trouble. So go to where there's a bank and there's always either an ATM right inside a front door or physically attached to the bank. Those are the ATMs to use. And when you withdraw that way, you're actually withdrawing in the local currency. So that way you don't have to have a lot of cash with you. You would have that opportunity to pick some up while you're over there. I do also recommend, of course, learn a few words in Portuguese. Learn the please and the thank you. It goes a long way when you use those words of kindness in the local language. So highly, highly recommend it. Today, that's so easy, right? You can go online, you can either Google it, you can YouTube it, you can have lots of quick little lessons. Maybe you want to practice how to say cheers, or I'd like to buy 2 bottles. Little things that might be important for you, right? How much is this? That's one of those important ones. Um, Oftentimes, too, we have credit cards that we may not be aware of that have no foreign transaction fees. If you do, those are the ones to bring. And of course, I always say make sure that you take an extra. So if for some reason a security hold gets put on one, you have a backup, right? So always good to have a little extra with you. Also, in your phones, I do recommend that you add important contacts. So, for example, when you go through your documents, you're going to see there's the AMA emergency telephone number. There's the potentially the transfer representative if we have arranged a transfer for you. The ship's telephone number is in your documents as well. All of those, what I recommend is if you put them into your contacts, you can always delete them when you get home. It's kind of like the apps, right? If you don't necessarily want to have all the airline apps on your phone, load them up now, delete them later. It's easier to have. So if you were to say, I'm a waterway ship, right? You would know exactly where to find it in your contacts. The transfer in Lisbon, I've got it in my contacts. The ship's phone number, got it in my contacts. Who's making me jealous by showing bottles of wine here up close to the screen? That's just not fair. Ah, thanks, guys. Cheers to you. Um, and then, of course, this question has come up several times. What to wear? Keep in mind that this is a casual destination. So you're going to find that no ties are required. We do find that some gentlemen prefer to take one sports coat with them. Whether you actually wear it after the first night, we never quite know. But it is Europe. So if you're planning on going earlier or later, somewhere else in Europe, there are many restaurants where you go to in the evening where it's fairly common for gentlemen to wear a jacket. Ties, unfortunately, I'm sorry, you'll have to understand that they're not as popular as they used to be. So if you really want to bring one, you can. Certainly not required. So it is springtime in Portugal when you're going to be there, and you're right at a time when the weather is changing. And it's changing for the better, it's changing for the warmer, but you never know if you're going to have a mixed bag. So I do highly recommend that you take a light windproof, waterproof jacket, not a big heavy jacket because you're going to find that you just won't need it. But having a light jacket with you that you could put on if it's windy or if there's a drizzle is always a great idea. Layering is super important. Making sure you have really good walking shoes. One of the things about the Douro is that you're going to find that there's an opportunity for some hills there. And so you want some good walking shoes. There's some cobblestone streets in Porto. So you'll want something that doesn't have too much of a wedge on it, so that you can be safe. I also want to recommend to you that AMA Waterways has a fantastic list of frequently asked questions. Um, is there a hairdryer in my room? Yes, there is. Can I bring a flat iron? Technically, no. If you hide it, maybe. Make sure that you unplug it. They're worried about fires. There are always in all the staterooms, there's at least one plug that is US. And so that's important for you to know that there is going to be one place. If you use like a CPAP machine or something that you may have a distance, I'll recommend that you bring a short extension cord, because oftentimes that plug is not next to the bed. It might be over on the dresser table. I also want to encourage you that there are lots of plugs for the little USBs. This is a very current ship, so you're going to have lots of wonderful amenities. So you shouldn't need too much. You can bring a converter or an adapter. And of course, the difference being that if you're using your cell phones, for example, they automatically have an adapter built in. So a converter, excuse me, built in. So all you have to do is have an adapter so that you can plug into the other European style plugs. But if you're bringing some of these things that are questionable, that hair iron that I keep talking about, you may need to have an actual converter for that. Let's see. There's always so much. Your documents will only be ready if you are checked in online. So hopefully everyone here has gone to amawaterways.com and has completed the online check-in. If you have not, now's a good time, because once you do, those documents will be released and they will come again, they come electronically. So it's
Right.
just about time now for us to be able to get
Okay,
those.
have a good night.
Sorry, I saw someone else there. There we go. So 21 days prior, they're going to ask you to fill out your pre-cruise survey. And then 7 days prior, they're going to ask you to reconfirm your flight schedule. And then, of course, advise AMA if they're doing your transfers or if you're doing transfers with us. Again, we just need to know if there's been any changes, so please communicate with us. So with that, let's talk a little bit about where you're going. So exciting that you're going to be sailing on the Douro River in Porto, up from Porto round trip. And this is where your ship is going to be docked. So in Porto, and again, this is one of those photo opportunities, but it will also be in your documents, in your cruise documents. It will show you exactly where the ship is located, and there's the address there. So since the ship is going to leave from there and come back from there, it's great information to have. Now, some of you will probably be coming in to take part of the exclusive pre-cruise. I see some thumbs up there. Doug, you're going to be greeting everyone and hosting this. Would you like to talk a little bit about the pre-cruise?
I am. So 34 of you lucky people get to spend another 3 extra days with me. So I don't know what you did to deserve that, but let that be a lesson to you for next time. So we're going to be kicking off the pre-cruise with a welcome reception at the World of Wine Museum, which is right next to the hotel. And we have the Angel Share balcony. All the details of that are in the detailed schedule, which should have gone out to all of you that are on the pre-cruise. If you haven't gotten it yet, check with your consultant because they do have it to be able to send to you. And then we're going to spend 3 glorious days sort of traveling around and going to learn a little bit about Portuguese wine because they actually do more than just port. They have some fantastic still wines, and we have some nice wine revisits. And thanks to Kim and Tim's effort, we have a visit to the cork producing facility that they use to produce the corks for Dry Creek Vineyard. And they're going to put on a nice lunch for us while we're there as well. So very exciting time. And then magically we'll appear on the ship the afternoon of embarkation and meet the rest of all of you to kick off the cruise.
That's awesome. And I know some of you are participating in Alma Waterways pre-cruise program in Lisbon. And of course, you will be arriving to the ship with the motor coach that comes from Lisbon. Some of you are flying in independently. So the nice thing is that we're all coming together in Porto to meet on the ship. And of course, this leads us to our great wine experience that we're going to have on board. So I'll invite you, Doug, to talk a little bit about this, and maybe Kim can join us.
Got off mute first. So yeah, this actually just got finalized today. So you may not have this yet, but it will be coming to you from your consultant. So this is a summary of the itinerary along with the, in red there, the exclusive events for Dry Creek Vineyard. I say exclusive, we have the whole ship. So the whole ship is exclusive for all of us. So we're going to start off with a welcome reception on the sun deck. And if it is raining, we will do that in the lounge, but it's beautiful up on the sun deck. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that. And then we have 2 dinners featuring Dry Creek Vineyard wines at each of the dinners, served course by course with fantastic food, and 2 wine seminars. And I don't know, Tim or Kim, if you want to mention a little bit about the themes for those 2 seminars.
Tim, are you on?
I am.
Way to put us on the spot. So yeah, Tim and I, gosh, we collaborated on this. How long ago, Tim? It's been at least 6 months, I feel like.
Yeah.
And but we have 2 seminars that I was just grabbing my file because I was like, oh yeah, what are we doing? Don't worry, the wines have been shipped, the wines will be there. I actually kind of don't want to tell you what the seminars are. In a way, I want you to be surprised. How about that? But they're new seminars that we have not done before, because so many of you have been on cruises with us before. And I think you'll enjoy both of them. I don't know, Tim, I feel like I think they should be surprised, don't you think?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then we, of course, have a whole assortment of different wines for every night. And the wonderful thing about, Dry Creek Vineyard is that we make a wonderful assortment of wines. So we're not just drinking the same thing every single night, and that's going to be fun. Yeah, let's see. We start off with our welcome reception. That's the most important thing. Everybody come to the welcome reception. Please don't blow it off. Please come, because one of the things I love to do is try to get a giant group picture. And I'll be honest, this is the biggest group we've ever had. So I don't know how we fit the entire ship into one small area on the deck, but I'm going to try it because I want to get a group picture. I think this is going to be just fabulous. But that's a way to get to know everybody too. So we have some name badges for you, and it's nice to wear them throughout the week just because there's so many people and it's hard to remember people's names. But I guarantee you I would say by day 2, if you don't already have friends on board, you will be making friends on board. And by day 4 or 5, you probably won't need the badges, but they're really, really helpful in the beginning. And actually they're helpful all week long, to be honest. Don't you think, Doug?
Absolutely. It's really good for me.
Yeah, no, it's good for everyone.
I'll recognize a lot of you because we've been on probably 3 cruises together. So the name badges are actually very helpful. I would just say with regard to this schedule, be flexible, because the Douro is one of those rivers that often has sailing schedule changes. It's very narrow in spots. Matter of fact, I was on this ship on the exact itinerary almost a year ago from your cruise coming up. So it's a beautiful scenic river to sail, but it's so narrow that the 2 ships can't pass. So if you've been on other, AMA cruises on the Rhone or the Danube or the Rhine, and you're always going past barges and other ships. Well, it doesn't happen on the Douro. So scheduling the locks and scheduling the timing of ships is something that is an art form, and sometimes it has to get revised a little bit. But if the times change and the order of events change, you will not miss anything. We will make sure you all know about any changes.
Yes. Well, and it looks like an amazing program. I hope you're all excited. I'm so jealous. I don't get to be on this one. I'm jealous now. Kim, is there anything you'd like to share?
One thing I was going to say, you might, for those who've maybe never been on a river cruise, you might just share how the excursion sign up works when you're on the ship.
Sure. Doug, you want to talk about that?
Sure. It's very easy. When if you fill out your online registration, you'll see that you can choose shore excursions now, essentially. You go through and pick them. And it's not like ocean where you're locked in and you have to pay for it. These are all included in the cost of your cruise. The staff just need to get a rough idea how many people are going where, so they can have enough buses to go this place or that place. But you are free to make changes literally up to the time the excursion leaves the ship. They ask if you know you're going to change or not go on one, they ask you to do it 24 hours in advance, again, just so they can handle logistics a little better. And every evening on the ship, the cruise manager will talk about what's coming up on the next day, more details about the excursions, answer questions, and that's a time where, okay, maybe I don't want to do that one, I'll do that one instead. So it's really very flexible, and again, they're all included in the price for the cruise.
And they have different levels of walking. So one of the things that's really nice too is that if you feel that you're a really active walker, you can choose to sign up for the active tour. If you feel like you maybe need a little bit more time in walking, or oftentimes our photographers love to take the gentle walkers tour. That's the more slower paced, just because it gives them extra time to really slow down and take some photographs along the way. So just know that the cruise manager will present all of these options to you the night before. And then you have choices to make. But I know for myself that I went on a really strenuous hiked all the way to the top of the hill, went to the castle, did the whole thing. I'd signed up to do the same thing the next morning. I woke up and I thought, yeah, no, not the second day. So I went down to the front desk and said, you know what? I'm quite into the hiking today. Can I take the average walker's tour? And they said, sure. And I handed my tickets back, they handed me new ones, and poof, I was on a new excursion. So they are so wonderful about accommodating. And if you have requested to, it comes to mind, if you've requested any special dietary needs, we have sent them through to the ship. They're often going to ask a chef to come and speak with you if you have any severe allergies. But they're wonderful at accommodating, and they just want to serve you. So if there is something, say something. If there's something that you need, or there's something that you would like differently, please communicate with the ship. And if for some reason you don't get satisfaction there, you've got Doug.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but KK, can't they also wait till like literally the night? You don't, even if you haven't had any time to think about the excursions, you can just wait till you get on the ship and meet with the cruise director or the host. They usually have a couple of desks right after you check in, and you can just sit down with them and spend 15 20 minutes, a half an hour asking them about what are what excursions, and then that's how you find what would appeal to you, because I think that's what I've started doing the last few years.
Well, and I do recognize that there are many of us who are just really, really busy with every day. We have so many guests who tell me that they read about the shore excursions on the plane on the way over. They don't get a chance in advance. I do recommend that you take a look in advance, just because, especially if you are looking for maybe something a little bit different, more adventuresome. But to Kim's point, you can book all of them the night before, and they're going to constantly give you great details about the next day. So maybe you experience something and you want to listen to what they have to say. you can absolutely make that choice the night before and they won't have a problem with it. Of course, if everyone did that, they would have no clue of how many buses to order. So I think what they're trying to do by doing it in advance for most of us is have an idea of how many tour guides they'll need and how many motor coaches for which destination. But again, you need to make changes. Absolutely, you're welcome to. This is your vacation. This is not supposed to be a job. So we want you to enjoy every aspect of it. So absolutely, you can take your leisure and do it when it best suits you. Yes. Anything else you'd like to share, Kim? You're muted.
Oh, no, other than I can't believe it's almost here. Yeah,
It is
I,
right around the corner.
yeah, it is right around the corner. Does anybody have questions though? This is the time because Doug and KK are the experts and they've done this. I have never done, I've never done a river cruise in Portugal. I think a few of you actually may have been on the cruise we did. I think it was 2013 and it was Lisbon to London. And it was that I was in Lisbon for yeah, Doug, you were there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was in Lisbon, or we were in Lisbon for a day or two, and that was fabulous. So those of you who are spending time in Lisbon, you'll love it. But other than that, it's all new to me. I know nothing.
There you go. Well, it is Portugal's one of my favorite destinations. And you're going to find the people are friendly, the people are lovely, the opportunities are amazing. We also want to share with you that there's something brand new, and all of you will automatically be part of this. Our company, Expedia Wine Club Cruises, who arranges this for you, we have a wine cruise society, and this is our way of thanking all of you for being guests with us. And so all of you will be receiving our brand new inaugural launch pins on board the ship as a special thank you. And we do, for those of you, which are many who have cruised several times with Dry Creek, you are now elevating from bronze to silver levels. So Doug will have some gifts with him on board for you. And we're really, really excited because there's some great opportunities with this. So with that, we're going to open this up for questions. So let me stop the share here. Of course, you all know how to reach your consultant. And that's very important because if you have some detailed questions specifically about your itinerary that might be different. But aside from that, please raise your hand, wave at me, unmute yourself, ask a question. Bring it on is like what I always like to say. Any questions? No? Everyone knows everything? Tim's got a
Tim has a
question.
question.
I like it.
So this is my first cruise with the wine club, and I'm super excited about that. Some of this information sounds like maybe should I have received some things asking me to register for shore excursions and stuff like that? Because I don't think I see that in my emails.
Yeah, so as a wine host, it's a little different for you. But the majority of our guests by now should have gone online to register. But if you haven't, this is the perfect time. This is exactly the time to receive that information. Stephanie, I see your hand is up.
We haven't received anything about online registration, so
I will make sure that you do.
yeah.
We haven't gotten anything about excursions or registration or anything.
Yeah.
So
Right. We have the same
Excellent.
situation as well.
Yeah.
We have not either.
Okay, well, and I know again that this is we're a little premature, but it's this time right now. So you are all going to be receiving an email, and I'm just going to have the team resend out emails to everyone so that we don't miss anyone. And what it's going to do is it's going to say to go to amawaterways.com, and it's going to say that up in the top there is a check-in, and you can click on that check-in, and you will use your booking number, your confirmation number, which if you don't know what that is, that's on your invoice that you received from your consultant, your invoice, your bill. And on there, directly underneath the cruise portion, it will have a confirmation number. That's your confirmation number that you will put in there. And oftentimes it will ask you to reconfirm your date of birth in order to make sure that it's you, of course. And then you go in from there and you start the registration. And as soon as you fill out all their wonderful questions that every registration form asks, then it will gain you access to the shore excursions. So absolutely, we're going to make sure that you all have that. And it's going to be easy peasy. So this next week is when all of this really starts to happen. And so I'm excited for you. Other questions? I saw some hands up. Dave, I see your hand. You're muted.
So, okay,
There you go.
yeah. So, we've been on a few river cruises that we really enjoy. And one of the things that I like to do is when the ship docks in the morning early to be able to get off and so sort of go on my own little adventure. I'm a runner, so are we able to do that? Can we get off early in the morning when the ship docks?
In many places you can, but Doug, you want to address that because I know you were the most recent on the Duro.
Yeah, most places that ship docks, you'll be able to do that. Matter of fact, I can't think of any from last year. If you just want to get off and run, or even just take a walk, you're free to do that. The
Great.
ship doesn't sail at night, again, because the river's so narrow. And there's places where literally you could reach out and touch the rocks as you're going by. So they don't want the ship moving at night. So it's generally docks in the evening and is already there in the morning. So you just have to make sure that it's still there when you get back from your run. Yeah, you can always check with the front desk and just make sure you know what the onboard time is before you head off. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
And that's actually a really great point that Doug makes. It if you decide to do things independently from the ship, as you're checking out, you have to use your card key to get off the ship to let them know that you're getting off. Please make sure to just ask. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going out on to town on my own. And there's always a sign, but you can always just check in with them and say, I'm thinking of coming back at 3. Is this where the ship is going to be docked again? So if you do something independent, always just check in. They're so friendly and helpful. It's really nice and it gives you that confidence to know. Karen, it looks like you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. We did receive our link for the shore excursions. It looks like most of the days there's only one, so the choice is take it or leave it. Are there more coming, or is that what it is?
So many of the excursions on this itinerary, I think there's one to sign up for, and then I don't know that they necessarily have secondary itineraries. I think there's just going to be multiple levels of walking, or different speeds of the group. Did you find that last year, Doug?
Yeah, it depends on the location. The excursions usually have multiple buses going to the same place, and so they stagger those so that if there's a tour and a wine tasting, if some people do the tour first and then the wine tasting, and they shift it around. But the excursions that are listed there are the ones that are available.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a little bit more simple, I think, on the Douro than it is in some of the destinations. But you won't be disappointed because they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, the entire, well, maybe not the entire, but the part of the sailing that we're going to do on the Douro, it's a designated UNESCO landscape. So every place that you're looking is part of the UNESCO landscape. So there aren't big cities right next to the river. And so the reason that the excursions are the way they are is that there's, it's a very rural, very protected area. But they do a great job in making sure that the excursions are exciting. You get to go to Matou's Palace. Anybody drink Matou's when they were in college? Some of you are going to remember that. I know it's not just me. So there's a lot of things that I think you'll find really exciting on the excursions, and just the views and the scenery as you're sailing are fantastic.
Excellent. Other questions? Trying to look for hands. Anybody waving at me? Oh, yes, Mr. Quartz. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, hear me now?
There you
Okay.
go. Yes.
So just probably a couple questions. With the political situation as it is there any concern about Americans traveling in Portugal right now?
No, I'm delighted to say that there's not. And I think it's a good question. It's probably top of many people's minds. And so no, we've not only have we not had any issues, I know myself, I've been traveling internationally, and I do find it interesting that there's always questions, right? Because you know, everyone looks at the United States and everyone pays attention to everything that we're doing. And so you may find people who have questions. And you can, of course, choose if you want to respond or engage. But certainly, I've not found any negativity or concerns for traveling at all.
Okay, and then the second question is, we've heard that there are, like, we're gonna fly through Amsterdam, and there's a tax that you should pay ahead of time. And do you know anything about that?
Not for flying through Amsterdam.
Well, we're staying overnight there, a night,
Okay.
so we
So you could
may
have an
have to.
entry tax. And
Yeah.
so then if that's the case, yes. And you're going to find that, and we can certainly help you. There's electronic forms, because I know one of the questions, and I apologize, I didn't include it, is some folks have been concerned about if the EU visa is going to start before they go, and that one has definitely been pushed back. But there can be a tax. There can be, if you're staying overnight, they're going to charge a local tax. And in some cases, you can pay it in advance. And I know with Amsterdam, that's one of those. So yes, if you need help with it, let me know, and we're happy to help you with that process.
I think we have the app to do it. It's not that
Yeah.
much. I mean, it's
No,
$8,
but it's
$10.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
over it.
It's the same with there's a couple of places that are charging a tax, and unfortunately, it's kind of like our airport taxes and our local taxes. We do the same thing to them. So oftentimes it's reciprocal. But yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, well, that was easy. Very good. Other questions?
KK, real quick, did you say that, so there is no EU visa required right now, and that would apply to Spain, because we're going to go to Spain afterwards, so we would not need a visa in Spain either?
Correct. The
Okay.
only visa that you might be concerned about is if you are flying through London or through the UK. And this is the tricky part. If you are in transit the whole time, meaning that your ticket is through, you're not going to clear customs, exit immigration, then you do not need to do the new UK visa. If, however, I know there's one couple, and I've spoken to them independently, but if there's anybody else who's done it that I don't know about, who bought a ticket to London, and then they're getting off, and they have a separate ticket from London to Lisbon. Because those tickets are separate, you are not in transit. They're not connected. And so that means that they're actually going to go through customs and immigration in London, have to go out of the terminal, have to come back in, check back in as a domestic flight within the EU. Actually, it's not from the UK, it's an international flight because it's from the UK to the EU. So that would require a UK visa. But if you are just transiting through London all on one ticket from wherever you're starting into Porto or into Lisbon, no visas.
Okay, because we are going through London, but we are not planning on stopping, so I just wanted to check.
There
Thanks.
you go. But Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. I think there's been a lot of news, a lot of misinformation regarding visas. So I think it's always best to ask. And please, 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 everyone, make sure that your passports are valid for 6 months after your return. So not from the date of departure, but from the date of return. And if they are not, contact us, let us know. Let's make sure we get you expedited because there is still time. So, but please take a look at them now rather than the day before when you go to pack.
Well, why is that? So if their passport expires at the end of June, that
It
doesn't.
has to be
Oh, I didn't
renewed
know
before you depart. Yeah, so international, there are a few countries that allow for 3 months, but basically this rule has been in place for many years. And what happens is that the country that you are going to wants to ensure that you have your proper documentation for in the event of, for example, a medical emergency and you have to stay, or that something happens to you and you have to stay. They don't want foreigners that suddenly don't have a passport to be in their country. So the international rule is now 6 months. Again, there are a few places that allow for 3, but the overall general rule is 6 months. And you'll notice that everything that we print says the same thing on it. It always says, make sure your passport is good for 6 months after your return. So please, please, please take a look at it. We automatically have a flag in our system that watches for it. AMA Waterways does too. The airlines do as well. But I'd rather say it now rather than have those flags have to catch it as we get really close in.
Good to know.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're coming up on 5 o'clock because you know what that means. I need to go get a glass of wine, and so does Tim and Ian and Brandy. Any other questions, everybody? Everybody got all their questions answered? All righty, so exciting. I will see you all at 4:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday, May 27th on the top deck of the AMA ship, and we will start our big adventure. So thank you.
Cheers,
Salute.
thank you,
Cheers.
Kim.
Wait,
Salud.
wait, what is it, everybody? It's Saturday.
Saturday.
All right, take good
Ciao.
care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Look forward
Bye.
to seeing you all soon.
Spanish as well.